Hello, I'm Dipster Davinci, and I'm here to tell you about the replicator, or as I like to call it, the Stardust KAP. My background. This is my bookshelf full of sketchbooks. First one is from elementary school. I'm here to talk to you about my favorite invention, or the first one that really must be understood in order to understand the rest of them. Now this is the Star Trek version of the Stardust KAP. Now I did several versions of this before I even saw Star Trek, so this is basically irrelevant. What you have to know is that it presents a lot of problems. There's this whole thing about making matter out of energy. It requires way too much energy. We're going to start on a smaller scale. This is my first design for the Stardust KAP. Whole gist of it is that there's this thing which can project radio signals into this plasma made out of organic cells. The cells contain a special protein, or RNA, that can translate radio signals like these into RNA. The RNA is then used to make proteins, which are used to make other things. And this will basically produce anything. My second design for the Stardust KAP was this, the Universal Fabricator. The Universal Fabricator uses electron beams shot from nanobots to suspend other nanobots. The nanobots are made in branching patterns to do anything. I originally was told to use this sort of idea when my music teacher, who probably shouldn't be messing with this, told me that I should not be using organic life and should just have something assemble the molecules directly. The problem with the UF is that the electron beams won't actually support anything. This brought me to the physical updater. Instead of using electron beams, it uses hubs that are suspended off of each other with magnets using basically a ball and socket joint. Now the best thing about this design is the kaleidoscope. The main philosophy of Stardust is that anything can be made with the simple arrangement of repeating patterns of triangles. You see, I took triangles A, B, C, and D and put them into triangles A, B, C, and D, and into triangles A, B, C, and D, into triangles A, B, C, and D. The kaleidoscope was best used in the Stardust Printer 3. This is an electron kaleidoscope to multiply the signal, or the image, of the thing that it's trying to print. This Stardust printer used an electron beam image, not just a beam, but basically a whole picture, that would travel through this kaleidoscope and be multiplied, duplicates blocked out, and it would come out on the other side as this thing. Now, this is pretty much invisible, but there's a magnetic field that comes around here and moves the plasma that comes up to here around. And that will essentially attract the electrons to the plasma, and hopefully it'll solidify. You see, because it was using a magnetic field to stretch plasma across, and then projecting into the plasma, there was no guarantee that it would actually hit an ion and solidify it. The best thing about this is just that. It is a big hub that the printer sits inside and projects outward onto this plate. The main problem with that is that you can't really make an electron image. It has to be a beam. But finally, when I did decide to solve that problem, it became very complex, as you can see with all the layers here. Now these are the layers that would be inside the kaleidoscope of blocks, but the blocks have to be moved out here for the atoms. You see, you have this first layer where an electron beam actually carves a shape into a plate. The plate then has holes in it that will let atoms through. And then the atoms are blocked by these gels, which when electrically charged become solid. But see, in the old version, both the gels and the plates had to be negatively charged in order to let atoms through, which meant there was a lot of extra space there, mainly made out of the carbon-boron lattice that the plates were made out of. So I simplified to this. This is a microbot for KAP style printing. As you can see, there are grids of carbon nanotubes, triangular ones, that stretch across this surface. These grids will work off of a fissure. And you see, there's a fissure under here, and the atoms travel through the fissure out in between this triangle. You see, because all of the carbon nanotubes going one direction are charged equally, it creates the kaleidoscopic pattern you want. And the reason that that's important is because the ions that travel through are moved by the shape of this magnetic field. So they go out in whatever direction they're supposed to, and this goes in sequence. And also, instead of a gel, all you have to worry about is that fissure, opening and closing the fissure. Without getting too into it, that's all I have to say for now. So, keep inventing, my cavemen.
You've got computer mind, several programs inside. You've got computer mind, you can run 4 or 5. And when you alternate, you can run 7 or 8. And what will lag behind is your emotional mind. Your heart will crash and burn when you see pictures of sun. Your heart will crash and burn, rather not be alive. Take what you can take, your heart will be half-baked. Once you can't stop and store, your thoughts of the third war. It's a little like when you take on what you can chew. Frustration will set in, that's just how it has been. And your computer mind will someday happen to find you can't go on like this, and that's just how it is.